Welcome to OrthoGraph. Today I'm going to show you some best practices and some little tricks you can use to improve your work on the program. Before we begin and before we talk about the different tools, it's always good to keep an eye on the settings because it's always good to set these things up before you start the program at the first time. So what we are going to do now, we are going to go to settings and see how we can set the language and the units what the program is using. Let's scroll all the way down to OrthoGraph. Let's choose the program. And here on this window we can set the units, because if you want to change from metric to imperial, then this is where we can do it. Or if we go back, well, this is where we can change the language from English to something else if we want. Now let's go back and fire up the application for the first time. Now what we are going to see is that there is going to be a grid where we can make the sketching and the measurement. And here we can see the grid where we are going to make the drawing, and up here we can see the tools and toolbars what we are going to use to sketch and measure our floor plan. Now let's go to the projects, and here we can see that there are different kind of projects what I'm currently working on, because OrthoGraph is not thinking in files but thinking in projects. So if you have a different work coming up, a building survey, then you have to create a new project for it. So let's do that right now. We are going to click on plus and we are going to create a new project, a nice, clean and new one. It's going to be defaultly named new project 13. Obviously, we might want to rename this to something we can actually remember. So what we are going to do, we are going to tap on it, hit edit and rename it. Let's say the name is going to be new. If I'm going to save this project back to the cloud, then this is the name I can find it under. Now the next step would be to actually sketch a room, but before we do that we have to talk a little bit about the locations and the location structures, because as you can see on the top left corner we have the location button on which we have the location structure, because OrthoGraph is not only thinking with rooms but with the relation between the different rooms. So if we want to sketch different rooms and locations, we can also specify if they are related to each other anyways. Let's see that. So for instance, if we have a main location, this apartment complex where we work, we can specify that that type of building is going to be a building or a room or whatever. I'm going to show you that. Let's tap on property and I can see that the building type is actually a building, but I can also set this to office, room or shop. Use whichever is comfortable for you or whichever you need. Go back to location structure and now we are going to create a sublocation which is going to be our first floor. Click on sublocation, click on property, and if I change this to floor, then the floor number will be designated automatically along with the floor level and height. You can change them here if you want, but you can leave it as default. Let's go back to the floor plan view, because now what we are going to do, we are going to sketch the first room. Click on the pencil, and here we can specify the wall thickness and reference line. Let me show you how that works. Here you can see the wall thickness. If you don't want to keep it as 0.10 centimeters, then you can change it to something else, another value. Let's just be satisfied with what we have right now. And next to it we have the reference line settings. First option means that the reference line is going to be on the inside when I drew clockwise. If I have that setting, but I'm going to draw the room counterclockwise, then the reference line is going to be on the outside. But if I want to sketch a room without walls at all, then I can go with the third option. So I can just sketch a room and there are not going to be walls there. It's good if I just want to calculate the surface areas. Now let's just go with the first option and let's just sketch the room like this. I don't have to be accurate, I don't have to be spot on, because every mistake can be changed later on. But what you can see in the inside is that there is going to be a thin yellow line. If you can see that, that represents a reference line which is going to be on the inside as we intended it. Now when we are done with the sketching, as I said, we don't have to be accurate because all the other shapes can be changed. This tool, for instance, is going to rearrange that particular corner. If I tap on it and I draw further away, then it snaps blue every 15 degrees by default. This sort of helps me to keep the corners aligned. So you can see every 15, 30, 45, 60 or even 90 degrees can be set for the snapping, but I can turn the snapping off if I want to. So next thing what I might to install is basically an extra corner if I'm missing that. So works like this. I just tap on the wall and I drag my finger when I want them to appear, and this is how I make them disappear. If I want to add a bend, I just tap on the wall and swipe my finger and the bend appears, and the same way I just make it disappear. If I want to add a housing because I have a chimney there or something what's coming there like a pillar, then I can do it like that way. But this is again illustrates that you don't have to be accurate the first time. You just have to make an approximate drawing which you can elaborate later on. Let's just delete it. Next thing we do is that we start measuring the drawing. The first measurement we place is going to rescale the drawing while keeping the angles and corners unchanged. OrthoGraph tries to maintain the angles and as long as it's possible. If you will measure diagonals, it will change the angles too. Let's illustrate. I make this measurement down here, click and drag. It tells me it's 7.4 meters. If I make this bigger, let's make it 9 meters, then the whole room is going to be bigger, because the first base measurement is the one which determines how big the drawing is going to be. But on the other hand, when I do the next measurement on that particular wall, it's only that wall which is going to be distorted. Let me show you how. If I edit 6 meters, then that particular wall is going to be changed like this. Because in OrthoGraph, it's always the ending point of the measurement which is put closer or pushed away, you see. So if you enter a greater value or a smaller one, then the ending point is always modified. Let me demonstrate how that works. Let's go with the third particular wall, like this. Because if I'm going to add a lesser value here, let's make it 2 meters, then the ending point is pulled closer. Now let's go with the fourth measurement, and it's going to be 4 meters, for instance. Now the ending point is pushed away. Now I don't have to measure the remaining 2 sides, because you see the first 4 measurements what I made are already deciding how long they are going to be. So I made that 4, and those 2 are updated automatically. It really depends on what you would need to use OrthoGraph for, because if you are just in looking for basic settings and basic sketches, then you don't have to elaborate that much. But if you are a carpenter or let's say a furniture manufacturer, then you have to know exact measurements. Let's turn on the visibility of the measurements in order to explain. You can see these different colored circles here, and I'm going to explain in a moment what they mean. As said before, in OrthoGraph there are many ways to tackle the same problem. So even if I made this couple of measurements, what I showed you before, this 4, I can continue working on the floor plan. I don't have to measure the whole thing. But if I want to be 100% accurate, then I can make all these measurements. So what we can see is that we have these circles here, and in order to turn them green, in order to turn them fixed, I have to have at least 2 measurements to that direction, because now I have only 1 to those red circles. I can do diagonal measurements in order to update those corners, and that's what I'm going to do now. Click on measure, and I'm going to measure from one point to one of the red circles, like that one. And now it tells me it's currently 10.8 meters, and then I'm going to update it for a bigger value to this one. Now you can see that the corner is updated, and the angle is just sharpened, and the other one at the bottom just opened up a little bit. So that way, this corner is fully measured. I can continue working on the other one. So let's repeat that diagonal measurement with the other corner, like this. Instead of that value, I'm going to insert, for instance, 9.5 meters, and then that corner again updates. So as I said before, if you're just looking for basic measurements, you can keep on working on OrthoGraph. But if you want to be accurate and want to have all the corners updated, and that's how you can do it. But if you do decide to record all the corners and update them and measure them, it's always good to do it before you move to the next room. Now let's go back to the floor plan view, and let's proceed with the elements, because you might want to enter and exit rooms as well. So what we are going to do, we are going to add some openings, and here if we go to elements, we can see we have single and double wing doors, and we have windows as well. Let's go with the door first. If I click on the model, I can see that these are the different models I can add. I can add wall openings, plastic or wooden windows. Let's just go with the default one. Inserting them is quite simple. You just have to tap your finger when you want it to appear and swipe your finger in the direction where you want it to open. If it's to the inside, to the right, there you go. Release, and we have it there. Let's add another door there, just for good measure. Now, the same rule applies here. You can measure the door accurately, or you can just tap on it and swipe your finger when you want it to be approximately located, like this. But if you want to be very much accurate, then you can measure its position from that particular corner. Here we go. Let's update this to something like 2 meters. And then let's just measure the width of that door. 1 meter. There you go. Updated right away. Now I can see that these circles turned green, meaning that it's fully measured. Now let's proceed with the windows as well to show you how to insert them. I just have to tap on the walls and swipe my finger where I want them to, the opening handle to locate. One there, another one there. There you go. Now even at this point I can take a look at the data what I recorded. If I click on this report, then I can see the report sheet which comes up with every location what I create. The reason why we have this is that you don't have to go back to the office and retrieve this data, because you can see on the location the area, the surface areas, and all the numbers what you would need if you are working on the field. For instance, if you are a painter, you might want to have this data without having to export it first. But every time you make a change on this floor plan, these numbers are updated. So if you add another door or window, then these numbers are going to be updated right away. Let's go back to the floor plan view. What I sketched here looks like a 2D floor plan, but this doesn't mean that it doesn't exist in 3D, because I can actually take a look inside of this floor plan and see how it looks like right now, based on what I sketched. So let's turn on the visibility of the 3D, and let's take a look around. Let's see what we sketched here. Here are the windows, and there should be a door, what I sketched before. This is actually good for deciding if what I sketched actually reflects the circumstances. Let's assume that that particular window is not the one what I wanted to sketch. If I want to change any of the measurements, I can use this handy information tool, which is going to bring up the property sheet. As you are talking about building information modeling, it's very important that every single item what we installed has information what we can change, and we should update them in order to get the accurate data. Let me show you how. If I tap on that particular window I'm not satisfied with, then it's going to bring up its property sheet. Let's do that now. I'm going to tap on it, and I can see that all the information is going to be here, what comes with the model, along with the type, width, height, seal height, reveal, and this kind of information. Here I can change the model even. Let's change the width first. I'm going to tap on it, and instead of 1.2 meters, I'm going to add the value of 0.5 meters. Then I can see at the top that the model already updated. So if I want to change the dimension, this is where I can do it, or even I can take a picture of the model. So if I work on something which already exists as a built environment, I can document it, and if somebody brings up this file, they would see the picture. Now, if I'm a facility manager and I bump into some kind of thing but I have to record but I don't have any criteria for it, I can broaden the criteria with this plus. If I tap on it, for instance, I want to specify the fire safety classification of that particular opening, then I can type in the name of the criteria like this. Let's say fire safety. And after I save this criteria, I can add the code number, serial number, whatever I have to record there. 2009 is going to be the number what we add now, and if somebody brings up this sheet again, then they would see that number recorded. So it's quite good if you are looking for restoring or recording information, but if you bump into something we don't know how to mark it, you can still use the hand-free annotations. For instance, this corner should be remodeled, or the other wall, which I'm going to mark now, should be demolished there. So this is what you can use to make notes and annotations. You can even add strings if you want, but let's just delete them because they obstruct my view. The next thing what we are going to do if we are done with this room is that we are going to sketch another room next to it. Let's go back to the locations, and for this main location we are going to add another sublocation, which is going to be a room. Let's press the pencil and sketch a room, let's say there. I'm going to just sketch it, and I'm going to tap the screen, and it's going to be aligned right away. Now, obviously I have to measure this room now. That would be the next step in the workflow, but we are going to use some superior help with this one. We are going to use a laser distance meter in order to record this information. The two devices are connected together via Bluetooth, so as long as the two devices are turned on, the connection is going to be kept. So what happens now, I'm going to click on Survey, click External Devices, and find the tool. This is called Disto because this is a Leica Disto D510. Let's tap on it. Now the two are connected. So if I make a measurement now, it's going to appear on the screen. Let me show you how that works. So first of all, I'm going to again tap on the measurement tool and click, drag from that corner to that one. And now it tells me it's currently 3.4. And let's make another measurement. I'm going to shoot this laser to the back of the office. Let's see what comes up. Let me just position it and see the number on both screens. I just shot the laser. Let me see what it says. Now it says 3.163 meters on the Leica screen, and in OrthoGraph I can say the same value. I can decide to accept that value, and it updates right away. There you go. But not only doors and windows have this kind of ability to record measurements with laser distance meters. Every single item here, what you can see where you can enter dimensions, can be recorded with laser distance meter. For instance, this window. Let me make another measurement. If I shoot the laser, then it updates right away. So everywhere in the program where you can see a dimensional data or length, you can modify them and use the laser distance meter to enter these measurements automatically and directly. So you don't have to do it by hand. Now the next thing what we do is that we are going to talk about the objects, because it might happen that you're working in an environment which is already furnished. We have an object library in order to use them as placeholders. Let me show you the library what we have here. If I tap on this seat here, then I can bring up the library of different objects. I have them in a 3D view, this kind of model, or if you scroll all the way down, you have this very simplistic 2D drawings. Depends on which one is better suiting your purposes. But let's just go with this desk at the moment. It's just fine as a placeholder. Let me insert it. And obviously, if I want to mark an already existing object with this desk, then I have to first rotate this object, push it wherever I want it to appear. And as I mentioned before, we are talking about building information modeling, so even the objects have property sheets rendered to it. So if I tap on the information tool, tap on the object, then I can change all the dimensions, and remember, I can do this with the laser distance meter as well. So if I want to change the width of this particular desk to 2 meters, because that's already existing desk what I want to record, then there you go. Ideally, if you want to decide whether that particular piece of furniture would fit there, and if I want to measure its location from that particular corner, then I can update the number for 5 meters, for instance, and there you go. The position of that desk is fully measured now. Again, I can attach even more pictures or even more features to it, just as I explained before. The next step what we are going to take is to talk a little bit about how to sketch new rooms, because there are many ways to do sketching in OrthoGraph. One I already showed you before. You can sketch room and tap on it and it attaches automatically. Let me just refresh your memory with this one. That's what I did before, but I'm going to repeat it. So I just click on the pencil, sketch the room, and if I tap on it, it's going to be attached automatically. But let's just go one step back, delete that room, and assume that you want to sketch differently. Assume that you want to sketch rooms separately and later you want to merge them. There's a solution for that too. Let me just sketch this room and add a nice opening to it. Let's think that it's fully measured yet. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to merge the two. Survey, I'm going to click on move location, move each other to close proximity, and then I'm going to pair up the locations with the second two from the left. I'm going to swipe my finger from one room to the other one, and if I do that, the program would actually ask me how thick the common wall should be. Let's go with a different value. 0.2 meters would just do. And if I hit accept, I see that the two rooms are merged. But I see that I made a mistake here now, because I have a window which is going from one room to the other one. So let's assume that this is not what I intended. Reverse the process, but instead of stepping back, we are going to remove the two rooms from each other, separate them. Same way as merging. I'm just going to click location. And there you go, the two rooms are separated. And if I am not satisfied with this room after all, I can just delete it with a swipe of a finger, like this. Let's swipe to the left, click on the red button, and now the room is gone. Now let's just repeat what we already know. I can go back to the report and see the dimensional data and how it changed for that location number 2, because every time I make a change with the floor plan, these numbers are updated. One thing I have to talk about here is that the point we have this information stored right here is that you don't have to export this file in order to get this data. So if you are working on location, you can get this data if you are there. But if you want to store this data somehow and you want to export it, then you can do it, let's say, by sending it in an email. If you want to update your clients, for instance, with the progress of your work, then you can do that quite simply. We can see 7 different export formats here. First, we have the SRVD, which is our own format. Then we have JPEG and PNG, which are basically image files. So if you want to send your project to a client of yours which don't know how to open up a CAD file, you can just save it into a JPEG or PNG. An image file is much easier to open for them. But whenever you save your project in this fashion, you have to keep an eye on what you actually see on the screen, because whatever you actually see at the moment is going to be the one which is stored in this tool. Now, the next export format to talk about is the PDF room book. It's going to create a couple of pages long locational data, which is going to record all the dimensions of what you inserted. IFC and DXF are CAD formats. IFC is a 3D format and DXF is a 2D one. Lastly, we have a spreadsheet export, which is going to retrieve all your dimensional data without the image itself. But what I'm going to talk about now in full is the PDF room book. That's the most comprehensive one. Let's hit done, Let's hit OK and wait until it renders for a minute, and then I'm going to email it to myself so I can take a look and see how it looks like. Let me just enter my email address and I hit send. Simple as that. So if you just want to send this to one of your clients to keep them updated regarding the progress of your work, this is how you do it. Now I'm stepping out of the application for a second to take a look at my mailbox to see if I have something there. And there we go. There should be one message where I have the room book. Here we go. I just tap on it to download. Just takes a second to load. Then I open it up. Page number 1, I have the layout. So similarly with the images output, on the first page I would have the layout of the whole thing what I sketched, along with the measurements what I recorded. Next page I have the location structure, number of rooms what I sketched. And from now on I would have rooms spread out one by one, along with a nice screenshot to show how it looks like. Dimensional data is there. And if I go on to the third location, then I would actually see that we have even the furnitures recorded there. And again, if I go on, I see that along with the furnitures and the data what I recorded, I can also find the pictures what I attached. Down here I can see the picture what I took of that particular window. It's a nice comprehensive way to store all your information in order to keep yourself, your colleagues or your clients updated. Let's go back to the floor plan itself because there are still a couple of things I would like to talk about. Let's start with this view tool up here. This is where you can specify what you want to see on your floor plan, because all these things you can turn on and off the visibility of. Let me just explain why it's necessary. If I click on this one, I can turn on and off the visibility of the measurements what I made. Next to it I have the same thing with the location stamps. I can portray the location name and the square meters and this kind of data, but I can decide that I don't want to show that. Same thing with the measurements. If I have this option, then I can see how big or wide these particular windows are. Same story applies for the reference line. I can turn on and off the visibility of the reference line here. If I tap on it, it should disappear. Now the reason why we have this option here is because as long as you are proceeding with your work, there are many things what you are going to record. So it might happen that OrthoGraph gets a little bit crowded. So that's why you might want to turn off the visibility of different things. Now, talking about sketching on top of each other, one might ask, how do I make a multi-story building or different floors on top of each other? Let me show you that. Let's go back to the main location what we created in the beginning of this training. And I'm going to create an additional floor to it. If you remember, we can just tap on the property sheet and designate it as a floor. You can see that the number is automatically added as 2. And here I can change these dimensions, what I'm not going to change. And if I go back to drawing, I can sketch on top of this room. So I do it. Simple as that. Sketch is done. And now I can see it on top of each other, and I can see that it's actually designated as floor. I can go to the 3D view to show that it's actually situated on top of each other. Let's just see. And this is what concludes our first training. Thank you very much.